So the T-7, Boeing, who just cannot catch a break, is in the news once again because they're pushing back T-7 plans due to faulty parts. And it looks like the jet that was going to replace the T-38 in like now is now being pushed into not now. And it says they're starting low rate initial production in mid 2024, several months later, and it just keeps getting moved. And for those that don't know, it's a process, right? They have to do low rate initial production. The Air Force has to accept them. There has to be some testing. They have to develop all the syllabi. Like, it doesn't just show up one day and it's like, all right, here's the keys, T-38, see you later. There's a lot that goes into it. So the Air Force plans to buy 351 by 2034, and that almost seems ambitious at this point because of all the production issues and Boeing issues. And but the Air Force just didn't really want to comment on the fact that we've had problems, but they were having multiple parts of various sizing from different suppliers, and it was just supplier problems. They had to send some parts back to the original manufacturer for repairs, and already suppliers have started quickly fixing the faulty parts. So it's just one more thing in a list of problems, not just for the company, because they're having problems with the KC-46. They're having problems with the AW or the MH-139. They're having issues with the 737. They're having issues. Like, they desperately need to catch a break. But this affects pilot training. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier in that you have a production problem and you can't produce fighter pilots. You can't produce pilots. And the T-38 is struggling because it's a 60-year-old, 70-year-old airplane by the time we're getting this. I mean, it's an old jet, and you can only put so much into it before you're like, hey, we got to have something else.
Yeah, but it's not right. Look at the F-35, right? Yeah. That thing is like decade. That thing's like a decade late, basically, right? So this kind of stuff happens. I mean, the T-7 isn't as advanced of an airplane or design like the F-35, but anytime you're going to have, multiple suppliers, right? It's like building these airplanes is like a global event, right? And they do that for all kinds of reasons. Spread cost, to entice another country to invest in the airplane so they can purchase it. But I mean, the Typhoon had these issues. F-35.
V-22.
Yeah, exactly. Probably a large majority of modern airplanes built. Airbus doesn't build every single part on an Airbus, right? Yeah. Boeing doesn't build every single part on a Boeing, but kind of like you're talking about, Mover, the whole, Boeing seems to be in a rut, and you're right. It seems like they can't catch a break. I think the T-7 will be a great airplane once they get it figured out.
100%. I mean, with Saab, yeah.
Yeah. And, I think it said in the article it's delayed a couple months, and that's that would be acceptable, I would say. And given the standards set by other programs today, but who's to say that there won't be more setbacks in the future? Yeah. But you're right, man. I mean, it kind of stinks that these are the headlines we're getting out of this airplane, because we needed it 10 years ago, 15 years ago,
20, it was old when the C model came out.
Exactly.
Daniel, what do you think?
The Comanche, the V-22. I mean, we needed that stuff either killed or fixed right the first time, or there's going to be people paying with blood for all the test flights and everything else. So got to get it right. You got to get it right.
Do you know, I mean, I know it's been a while. Is the Lakota having the same issues as far as, did the Army have any growing pains moving to that aircraft?
No. Well, yeah, they did, but not as much, because the Lakota, the BK-1, the EC-145, it was already out. It's just, remember but the contract was originally for a non-deployable aircraft for the National Guard or whatever here in the United States. It was not supposed to be a deployable aircraft because it wasn't designed to go into combat. whatsoever. Now they could have, but then, everything else would have gone downhill. The gross weight would have gone up, the payload would have gone down, all that sort of stuff. So the Lakota, they ended up now making it the training aircraft at Fort Rucker. And it's not a training aircraft. It's a pretty complex aircraft and all for somebody just learning how to fly to be learning to fly a helicopter on. So yeah, they had the problems with the Lakota, just everything. And that's why that's why they've used the OH-58 for, since 91 and 92, whatever. I was fortunate. When I went to flight school, I did it in the Huey.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Before I'd gone, went to flight school for the Army, I remember I'd gotten my civilian private pilot license, and that was in a 152, cables, pulleys, the whole deal like that. And then now to go to learn how to fly a helicopter, and it's the Huey. It's got a hydraulic system. It's got a turbine engine. It's a pretty step up when you're just starting out. So could you imagine doing that? Instead of the R-22.
Yeah.
The Lakota's, it's got its deal.
I think it has a hover hold, doesn't it? It'll auto.
Yeah, the SAS, it pretty much holds it. The Apache does, and so does the Blackhawk, an actual hover hold mode. But the BK-117 or the EC-145 that I fly now, it's just got a really solid stabilization.
Awesome.